And that leads us to the next part of our intervention. Valuing, doing what matters. So I have a little cartoon here that illustrates what we mean, I think, not by valuing, but it's kind of ironic. We have someone in hospice who says, her last words, "I should have bought more crap." I think very few of us would actually say that. And in fact, there's been a paper that was put together by a palliative care nurse, or hospice nurse actually, where she, over her career, had sort of collected a lot of data and anecdotes about the top 5 regrets of the dying. And I want to tell you what they were and what she found. One was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. 3, I wish I had had the courage to express my feelings. 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And then 5, I wish I'd let myself be happier. Okay. So when you hear all of these things together, this is sort of an example of what we might mean by valuing, those things that, if we were to do it all over again, what would we do? So values are not goals, although they might include personal goals. But goals are in the service of something bigger. Values give us direction. How do we do a values assessment with folks? Well, it's actually kind of fun for us to try it with ourselves. And so we won't spend a ton of time on this today because time is slipping quickly past. But one way to get folks in contact with what they care about most is to say, if you had only one day left, how would you spend it? Who would you be with? What would you do? What would be the things that you really, really care about? Okay. There are many different ways to assess this. I'm going to give you just 2 quick ones today, but there are actually very lovely measures that have been developed in the ACT literature to assess values in different domains of life, relationships, parenting, leisure, work, education, etc. And so just keep in mind those are available as well. But these are 2 quick ones to give you the flavor of valuing. And if you're working with a parent in the context of doing parent training, I think sometimes these quicker ones actually are better. They're more time efficient. This is one that was developed by a fabulous clinician who worked with teens with emotional and behavioral special needs in South Australia. His name is Shane Curley. Hi, Shane, if you're watching. And what he would do is he would ask kids, well, you know, what do you really care about? And lots of times kids would say, money. I want lots of money. And so he would do this little, I suppose, interview and say, well, what would you do if you were rich? And they would say, well, I'd buy a house and a car and an Xbox, and I would have a jet plane, and, you know, I would, you know, take the first space flight and all of that stuff. Okay, well, you still have a lot of money left over. Then what would you do? Then what would you do? And so eventually kids ran out of stuff that they could buy, and they started to say things like, I would give it to my family who love me, or I would use it to make sure that there were no more starving kids in the world. And some kids did say things like this, which is pretty amazing. So it helps sort of get them in contact with those things that really matter, that are not goals or material goods, but rather directions. Okay? So now that we've had parents think about things that they care about, what might some behaviors be that might lead them in that direction? Okay? So we think about, next slide, actually, we'll stay on the goals, values, consistent behavior slide. So values are all about motivating behavior. Okay? They're all about motivating effective action in the direction that we care about. From a behavioral perspective, we